Good morning. This is a very snowy, bright, part snow, part sunshine kind of day here in southern Iowa. And I am getting ready to start a new quilt. And so I'm going to share how I do that with you. I've purchased some fabrics. These are called the Sequoia line, and these are Valleyscapes from Anthology. And this is the pattern I'm going to make. It's called Chain Link. Calls for a jelly roll and an accent and some background, and I'm kind of anxious to see how this turns out. It's going to be sort of southwesterny, sort of masculine, I guess you might say. And I'm going to make the throw size, but I'm kind of excited to get started. And so I've got my jelly roll here, and got some pretty lights and some darks and some mediums, and I just think this is going to turn out great. So my first chore to get started on this quilt is to pick out 35 of these beautiful jelly roll strips that I want to use in the quilt. And some of them I'll probably see if it goes more blue, more rust, more cream, tan, and then I'll decide which of these 3 extra fabrics that I purchased that go with the line work for background and accents. Here we go. I've got my mediums, my lights, mediums, and darks separated out. Some of these are pretty hard to tell which is lighter, which is darker, but did the best I could. With batiks, sometimes it's a pretty good challenge. This is going to be my background. This will be a border somewhere around the outside. I think this will be a border also, and my accent pieces. So I'm ready to give all of these a really good steam press and get started cutting. I'm going to cut the background and the accent pieces first, and then I'm going to try to figure out a little bit of a color scheme for each block, and I'll go from there.
This is the background I chose for this quilt. And I mentioned the quilt pattern. The name is Chain Link. This pattern is available from Cozy Quilt Designs, and it's a strip club quilt, which means it uses a jelly roll. These are my accent pieces here that I'm cutting. This is the fabric I chose for the accent. Each of the strips, the jelly roll strips, and each of the strips I cut from the background fabric get cut in half on the fold. This is a little tip. Oftentimes jelly rolls will come with both sides of the strip will be cut pinked, what we call pinked, and some companies, their 2.5-inch width is peak to peak, and some is valley to valley. So when you get a new jelly roll, you want to be sure and measure that before you start sewing, so that you know where your 1/4-inch seam is going to land. Anymore, you can get jelly rolls and honey buns and layer cakes and all those pre-cut pieces. A lot of them do have straight edges now, but you know, some still do have the pinked edges. And so when you see me stitching here later on in the video, you'll know that I'm stitching with the very top, the peak of the pinked edge along my 1/4-inch mark on my machine plate, because these jelly roll strips do measure 2.5 inches peak to peak. We're going to stitch together some tubes. I'm putting a print piece and a background piece together and making several of those. I'm sewing a 1/4-inch up and down, a 1/4-inch on each side. I'm chain piecing here, and when I'm done, I'll turn it all around and stitch down the other side. Come back. I love these fabrics and love quilting, just love it. This is a ruler called a strip tube ruler, which you can find online. And it is a great help in making half square triangles. If you're going to be making quite a few of them, and you cut them out of these tubes that you'll see I just sewed the tubes and use my strip tube ruler and cut my half square triangles. And if you're very careful with your cutting and you're very careful with your measuring, they will be exactly 2.5 inches. And then I just flip the ruler around, or sometimes I flip the fabric around, because it's not a very good idea to cut with your body twisted. And sometimes, like you see here, there will be a little waste, and other times the triangle top of the ruler will line up perfectly and you don't have to cut anything away. But once in a while you do, to realign. Just doing a light finger press on each one as I go. And I did find, when I cut the quilt out, that if I grouped together each block, or the main parts of each block and the main colors, my patchwork went much faster when I was stitching things together. So I kind of line things up, and the pattern does suggest that you do that. You can see some of the stacks at the top of the video there, at the top of the screen. The pattern is so good, it tells you that you need so many 2.5-inch squares, so many of this size of a rectangle and that size of a rectangle for each block or each part of each block. So it's very easy to put the blocks together, and it's fun to see the colors against each other and be able to change things around if you want to. Everything goes together in order. The pattern will even tell you what direction to press your seams so that everything will snug up together and be easier to sew when you're putting the strips together. Match all the points. The whole idea of this pattern is that there are sharp points and straight lines. I will say this is probably maybe not a beginner quilt, but if you're confident, and maybe you have a mentor, a quilt friend or a guild near you that you can join, and I would say go ahead and try it. I'm using a Bernina, sewing on a Bernina 770 QE, and I'm using a 37D foot. My machine does have the 9mm stitch plate, and a lot of Bernina people sort of tend to go with a different foot for patchwork and a 1/4-inch foot, but I like the 37D foot. I've used it for years. And of course, since it's a D foot, it means dual feed, so you have to put your dual feed and engage that. So the blocks come together with 4 segments, and I did kind of line things up so that I liked the color combinations on each one, and I laid them out all on my table, and you can kind of twist and turn just so you don't have 2 fabrics touching each other. I did end up, I think, with one block that had something that touched, but the overall pattern of the quilt was enough that, unless you point it out, I don't think anybody would notice. And I did do some pinning when I was putting these blocks together. There's quite a few places to match, and I didn't want to do any picking out, so I wanted everything to go well right on the first go. So I just pinned and went carefully and watched what I was doing, and everything went great. And there's one whole block, and look at how everything matches up. I have wonderful straight lines, and this is just because I cut and measured and stitched accurately. Anybody can make this happen. You just have to be careful. Look how beautiful. Yes, I agree. With me. And the blocks I thought turned out so pretty. I set them together, and now I'm deciding on borders and binding. And I did end up going with something different, I think, for the binding. Blue, I believe. I don't think I had enough of the tan left to get all the strips I needed for the binding. And this was another little trick that I did. I sewed my borders together first, and then I sewed on the quilt the two borders that were now one. I was kind of sad when this quilt was finished. I was making it for a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine. Her name is Loretta. I love her so much. And she got a new sofa for Christmas. And I kind of snuck around and asked her some questions and got her to take a picture and show me the color. So when I ordered this fabric, I kind of had a gift for her in mind. She loved it, was just overwhelmed when I gave it to her. Makes everything fall into place for the whole universe when you can make somebody else happy. There we go. Look how everything lined right up. That's pretty cool. Doesn't always happen. I'm going to put the borders on the quilt now. I put this is sides on, and then I put the top borders on. But this quilt is actually square. I believe it finished at 65 by 65. So it's a good size throw, but it is a square quilt, not oblong. So I've got the whole quilt top together, and I'm ready to sandwich the backing and the batting and the quilt. And I always do this the same way. You'll see this in my other videos also, that I fold everything in half and then in half again to find the very exact center, which on this piece is the far left upper corner there. And then I find the center on the batting and the backing and the quilt, and that's how I center everything and put it together. And I used to baste on my machine, but I'm kind of lazy anymore, and I sit at my table and pin baste. So you saw that there. And I do all my quilting on my Bernina. I don't own a long arm. This is a file from a embroidery file for edge-to-edge quilting from Amelie Scott Designs. I'll put a link for that in the description box, and for the pattern and the fabrics too. And this design has all different kinds of leaves. There's oak leaves and elm leaves, birch leaves, maple leaves, oak leaves. Did I say oak leaves already? And it just was perfect for this quilt. The quilting was not too close together, not too far apart. It didn't have any struggles with the patchwork at all. And I'm using a magnetic hoop. This is a snap monster hoop. And I have a great big table that I sew on. So I don't own any of the quilt supports that you can buy to hold your quilt up, because if you've got a great big table, I don't notice any drag at all. So I don't have any trouble that way with quilting my quilts. I am kind of careful about where I start. I usually quilt in columns, although sometimes I quilt in rows, just depends. But this particular quilt I did do in columns, and I started in the middle of the quilt and at the top and quilted a column straight down to the bottom of the quilt. And then I quilted all the way to the right hand side so that the fabric that was between the throat of my machine and the hoop got less and less each row. And when I got ready to do the other half of the quilt, I turned the quilt completely around, end for end, and did the same thing again, remembering to turn my templates so that the quilting all was the way it should be. So I got it all finished. I got the binding on. I think it just turned out beautiful. It's going to look great on Loretta's sofa, her new sofa. And you can see the points and how the lines all come across and create this beautiful pattern. I love these colors. I used the same fabric that I used for the background on the back, and it just quilted up just beautiful. I did use a polyester thread to quilt this, both bobbin and top thread, and I put Loretta's name on it and how much I love her and my name and the date. I did this with my embroidery module on my machine. This was a fantastic project. I hope you'll give this a try. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for keeping me in your YouTube family. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it.